we've finally got to the end of this one. How's everyone doing today, guys? My name's C Cones, and this is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the finale, episode 6, One World, One People. I'll admit, this one was Okay, I really enjoyed this finale. I really enjoyed it. I really was happy to see it catch me off guard in some areas while also satisfying me in some areas, and also predicting. Actually, I think the only real thing I predicted out of everything was what Sam's suit was gonna look like, because I mean, come on, like if you've seen what his Captain America outfit is in the comics, you kind of were expecting it, and yeah, it's really cool. I thought it was a really cool design, and I'm glad he's able to use both his Falcon wings and the shield. I guess the only thing I don't, or I'm hoping they bring up, is the fact that this was made by Wakanda. This was Wakanda. It's made by Wakanda. It's like, so is there any vibranium in any of the suit? Because it didn't really look anything that was made out of vibranium, minus the wings. That's probably the only thing I would imagine is actually made of vibranium. Everything else looked pretty straightforward armor-wise. And yeah. But, so this episode was... Yeah, it's pretty much picked up right where the last one left off, with Sam and Bucky arriving in New York, trying to stop Karli and the Flagsmashers from taking the official politicians, hostage. At first, it seems like they're just gonna take them hostage to negotiate, but then it goes a step further, and then a step further, and you basically. And it turns out that Sam and Bucky aren't alone. Sam called in Sharon to come in and help them out, and so clever way she comes in, and she has kind of that holographic mask thing that Natasha wore in Winter Soldier. Remember the scene? Remember, and near the end of that, where she disguised herself as one of the council members, and so she took off the mask, and it's like boom. So Carter arrived, and they talked to Bucky, and so the two went into the building to try and rescue the hostages, while Sam. They build up his reveal. So they showed it's nighttime in New York, obviously. So they show him flying in, but you only see the thrusters of his jetpack wings, I should say. You only see the thrusters, and then you cut to Karli, who's down on the ground, and just hears the sound of him flying over the city. You just see a glimpse of him go by, and then you have Bellatrix the Leaper in the building, and you have the people with the hostages, and Sam all of a sudden you just hear the crack of a window, you just hear a window shatter, and the shield flies in, hits one of the Flagsmashers. Sam comes flying in, lands, grabs the shield, bam, that's your reveal. It was pretty cool. I really liked it. And then it kind of took its time for the next. Okay, so this episode was about... Okay, so in total, this episode was about 51 minutes. When we get to the 21-minute mark, you felt like you've been there for a while. A lot goes down in the first 21 minutes that really had me... I was when I remember when I got to the 21-minute mark, I was like, okay, so what are we, 10 minutes left, 1 minute, or a couple minutes left? And it's like, no, it was halfway. And the reason why I say that is because we have Sam and Bellatrix fight. Bucky and Sharon go rescue the hostages, and while they're doing that, then they have the hostages do get away, because the Flagsmashers were a few steps ahead of them. And even, Karli even was on the phone with Bucky to distract him. I was like, why? Why was he easily distracted? And so even the fight between Sam and Bellatrix is cut short because so the way the Flagsmashers did their kidnapping is they had 3 different tactics. Like one was or 2 actually, yeah, 2. Yeah, 2 tactics. There were really 2 tactics was take a group of hostages in the truck and then take a group of hostages in a helicopter. So basically divide and conquer. That's pretty much what their game plan was, because if you have multiple different targets to go after, you obviously multiple different people have to split up. So Sam, of course, went after the copter. Pretty creative. I mean, I really like the way he I like the idea of how he got the hostages safe, is because he actually scanned the copter and found and discovered that one of the hostages actually is a pilot. So he then gets onto the comm and told her that he was going to we're gonna count to 5, and when I count to 5, go and take the controls. And of course Sam just flies in, takes the Flagsmasher out of the chopper, and so right when they do that, the lady goes for the controls and thus stabilizes the helicopter and saving everyone. There was also a police chopper that was chasing them, but it went down, and Sam was able to save both of them. There was this really cool shot of him with the hostage on one of the bridges. He covers him up with the wings, and the shield is kind of like the top. Helicopter bounces off the shield, goes and hits the side of the bridge, and just explodes, and then you get this round of applause, and then you get this really cool shot of Sam with the wings, and then he flies back off because, he's got to rescue the rest of the hostages. Bucky, he also has a cool moment where so in order to keep the people in the trucks, they put these, I want to say these very advanced locks on them, and they kind of look like mines or bombs, but they're really just locks. So Bucky has to actually, Bucky, at first he tries to just rip the door off by pure force, but he can't, so he just punches he punches the lock like crazy, and then he grabs the door, and he just has that big moment of him where he's like, and then he rips it off finally, which was really cool. I'm glad he did that. And then people actually, people were saying thank you, that was another thing, and people were actually calling, acknowledging him, Private Sergeant Bardens, and it's like, does he have that? It's it's hard to think of Bucky actually having a time where people are looking at him and saying thank you for helping and all that. It's interesting. Sharon also has a few moments, she stuck this device on this one dude. At first I thought it was a tracker, but then as I quickly found out it was not. What she called it? Mercury vapor, I think that's what she called it. Yeah, that didn't go well. The dude's face was And during all that chaos, so Karli is in the truck with the crew, and they get to this open area near a construction site, of course, and they think they have everything under control, and then John Walker shows up, and he has his custom-made shield. He still has the Captain America uniform. I thought he was going to show up with his black red uniform that he wears in the comics. U.S. agent, that's what he's called in the comics. He shows up, and yeah, I thought that was going to kind of throw a wrench into things, and it technically did, Bucky shows up too, and so all of a sudden you have Walker and Bucky trying to fight these guys and rescue the rest of the hostages, and so Karli decides to that's what leads to Bucky having to rip the door open, is she sets one of the trucks on fire, and so Bucky obviously goes for that one to save it, and he does, but the other Karli then takes the other truck and drives off as Walker is trying to fight everyone off. And then she purposely drives it over an edge in the city where there's this ditch in the construction site. Bucky tries to save the truck, but then he gets knocked in. And so Walker has a moment where he's looking at the truck. He looks at Karli. And obviously because, Karli's the one that killed Lamar. So he even has that moment of hesitation where he's you can see the anger in him, and he wants to get the revenge. He's part of him wants the revenge, but the other part of him is he needs to do the right thing. And thus I was a little bit surprised. A part of me was wondering what direction they were gonna go with him for this episode. So I'm glad he did the right thing though, because again, it's like this entire series, it's really been a balancing act for this guy. It's like he is a really noble dude. I mean, not a noble dude. He's a really he wants to do the right thing. He wants to be a hero. It's just his ways of doing it don't always align with the Captain America mantle. And so he eventually, but like I said, he does the right thing. He even ditches the shield that he made and saves. I mean, he tries to save the truck from falling over, but a couple of Flagsmashers jump him, and they all fall down into the pit or the construction site area. And so it seems like the truck is just gonna fall. But then Sam comes in and catches it with his, obviously, Falcon wings, and then he even has his little drones, Red Wing and Blue Wing? Red Wing, White Wing. Does he have 3? Red Wing, White Wing, and Blue Wing? That would be cool, right? And so, hostages are saved. Most of the Flagsmashers are dealt with, but a few do get away, including Karli. So all of a sudden you have Sam, Bucky, and John. They all have to, they go after them. And like I said, all of this is within 21 minutes. It's like, it's a rush. It's a rush, and I was really kind of, yeah, again, it is a rush, but it does, it kind of goes on a little too long, in my opinion. Like, I felt like maybe a few, like a minute or two, you could have cut from that entire sequence, and maybe it would have felt just right. And I've looked into the actual show, and obviously with the last year and a half, actually just last year, and I want to say 2 months. Last year and 2 months, you know, a lot of things have happened. So I heard there was a lot of changes to the script. I even heard that one of the original plot lines was going to have a virus as well. And I get why they dropped that, because if you talk about a virus nowadays, it's like, oh. And yeah, and then I actually did go back and like checked out a few episodes, and yeah, I can definitely hear like the difference, the ADR additions. Like, it's not terrible, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's like, again, it makes sense. It's like if you kept the original in, it probably wouldn't have been as appropriate, or maybe I don't know. But So Sam, Bucky, and John, they go into the tunnels to chase after Karli and the group. Then Karli goes one way and the group goes the other way. So Sam goes after Karli while John and Bucky go after the rest of the Flagsmashers. And so this is the part where I wasn't entirely sure how to feel about it. So we finally get the reveal of Power Broker, and a part of me was kind of disappointed that it was, spoilers, I guess. A part of me figured it was going to be Sharon Carter, but a part of me was hoping it wouldn't, because the way that they were setting her up in this series, like, you know, like she mentioned how, you know, after she committed treason in Civil War, you know, she spent 6 years on the run, or 7 years, I think. You know, so she spent some time on the run, and so she basically is like, I did this much for the country, then I did this, and all of a sudden I'm okay. And a part of me was like, well, you didn't. Is there enough to justify that? Like, I felt like maybe if there was more to her to what exactly happened, other than the fact that she went on the run, was pretty much saw that the country didn't give a crap about her, so she basically was like, I don't know. I felt like there was another piece there that could have been added to help that out. And I mean, it's complicated. But yeah, so she confronts Karli, and they have their moment, and then Belichick shows up, and he's like, so you're the power broker. And so, and I think the main, yeah, I mean, remember in episode 3, was it? Yeah, episode 3 with Zemo, he said the power broker was a dude. Like, he's like, oh, he is a, you know, like every kingdom needs to have its king, right? So I'm like, okay. He didn't say every kingdom had to have their ruler, you know. He said every kingdom has to have this king. So, considering the fact that when Sharon met Bucky in New York, she was wearing a mask that made her look like a dude, not a girl, not another woman, but a guy. So maybe she's been keeping this persona like a, you know, as like power broker for a while, and you know, like she's been keeping these contacts, and she is kind of like, it's been interesting too with how she's been playing this, because she is helping. I mean, obviously her primary goal is to go after Karli, but the last episode she hired Bellatrix to work with Karli. Okay, like really? Again, it just didn't feel understandable. Like, why did he have him go with her unless it was so to distract Falcon from getting to Karli? And if that was the case, not exactly a good plan. And then I'm thinking back to episode 3 as well. It's like when they go into the lab, it's like Zemo kills the dude who created the super soldier serum. So I'm like, I was like, is she just let him die? Like, wouldn't she have expected, wouldn't she have expected him to, Zemo to kill him? Like, I was like, okay, like, did she, it was weird, but, so yeah, Karli and Zemo, and Karli, Bellatrix, and Sharon kind of have like this little Mexican standoff. It's not really too crazy because Karli lowered her gun, and then Sharon's lowered her gun, but then Bellatrix is looking at them, and then Sharon, and then he's trying to blackmail her for more money because now that he knows she's the power broker, he wants more money, and Sharon shoots him and kills him, and I'm like, whoa, okay. So then Falcon shows up, and Karli shoots Sharon, and Falcon and Karli have their face off. Karli is attacking Sam, but Sam doesn't want to fight, obviously. There was a moment where she knocks Sam down and says, "Stay down." And I was waiting for Sam to get up and say, "I can do this all day." And I bet you they originally had that. But no, I think they figured, nah, they probably wouldn't work. Or maybe they didn't, I don't know. But yeah, he gets up and he just says no, and then they keep going, and then eventually Sharon gets back up and finishes Karli off. Like, she shoots him she shoots her a bunch of times, and she dies, and she said she was sorry, but maybe if, like, Sam finally convinced her to stop and then Sharon shot her, maybe then I would have bought it, but again, like, nothing really told me that she suddenly had second thoughts. It's like, I just realized, this is kind of like freaking Spider-Man Miles Morales, that game. Finn, Miles' best friend and love interest. Finn was the tinkerer who was trying to get revenge on the people that wronged her, and so she went a step, and at first she was just doing robberies and hit and runs, and then it got to the point where she nearly destroyed all of Harlem. I mean, this one, it was more of Karli just trying to kill all these officials that were going to cause more havoc basically in the world. And yeah, so after Sharon shot Karli and she died, Sam takes Karli's body into the authorities, and then of course obviously he has to face all the political stuff and the publicity. And there's a few obviously funny jokes, like someone like asked if he was going to be Captain Falcon. That was funny. Someone else called him Black Falcon. And Black Falcon, Captain Falcon, like, oh yeah, that's gonna fly. No one will sue you for that. Actually, yeah. But of course, the big moment was Sam talking to the politicians, you know, like, because they were like, thank you for stopping this terrorist. And of course, Sam's like, wait, hold on. But also, they did kind of like mention like how Sam like is taking on the Captain America mantle, and he's like, yeah, I'm here right now with the shield, and I can feel people out there who disagree with that. They're like, I know there's gonna be people out there who are not gonna be on my side for this, and he's like, all I can do is the best I can do, and right now I believe we all can be better. And so then I did like this, like he's talking with the politicians, and like I said, they called Karli terrorist, and so Sam's like, whoa, wait, you through all of this, you didn't ask yourselves why they did this. And that's kind of the thing. It's like we always, sometimes we just immediately brand someone something and we don't ask why. And he's talking with them, and he's like, she was fighting for something that she believed in because in her eyes, you guys came in and took her away from her home. You ruined everything. It's like, and then this was part of the best line in the episode was the guy's like, you don't know how complicated it is. And he's like, and then Sam, you don't understand, you wouldn't be able to understand us. And Sam's like, I'm a black guy wearing the stars and stripes. What do I not understand? It's like, yeah, it's like he himself has faced a lot of different challenges, a lot of difficult choice. He's had a lot of difficult choices, and he's faced a lot of difficult challenges. I mean, heck, he himself was dusted. He's been in battle. He's been in tough battles. He knows the hard facts of it, and he basically tells them that it's better. You can't just make it easy by looking and saying that person's a terrorist, or by making a problem someone else's problem, and like sending all these refugees back to their elsewhere. And he's like, you got to be able to deal with it. You got to be able to make the tough decisions, but you got to be able to understand the people that are not just in the room making the decisions with you, but you got to understand the people out there. A lot of facts. There's a lot of facts in that speech. And of course, they're cutting back to Sam, they're cutting back to Bucky, and even John. Like, John Walker's listening to this, and you can tell that both of them are like, yeah, that's Captain America. It's like, yeah, and even I felt it. I felt it was really cool. I mean, I thought it was a really cool speech. Would you say it was nailing it? It was hammering it on the head? Yeah, but I mean, come on, we need that. We need that. We can't be subtle about this. We have to understand the need, what needs to be done, what needs to change. Obviously there's a lot of difficulties out there in the world. Everyone's going through it, and we need to understand that we can't just make assumptions about things and just stick with those. We have to look at it from the entire picture. It's tough, but that's how we move forward. We have to go through the tough things. We can't just go the easy route, because it's like being an athlete. If you go down the easy route, where do you go? Go down the easy route in school, where do you go? It's like, the easy route may be the easy route, but it doesn't always lead to something better. So yeah. Then after all of that, they obviously have their loose ends tied up. One of the loose ends being, I want to say, I think it's the rest of the Flagsmashers. They are being transported to the raft until their truck explodes, and we see Zemo's butler in a car off to the side just smiling, and I'm like, even in prison he has his ways. And of course they cut back to him in his cell, and he hears the news, and he's just like, yeah. And then Sam and Bucky even goes back to the dude whose son died from the Winter Soldier and tells him the truth. We don't see the conversation that goes after that. Like, we see Bucky tell him the truth, but then they just cut to him leaving and, you know, just going. He even drops off the notebook at his psychiatrist, showing that he crossed all the names off the list, thus finally making amends with them, not avenging them, making amends with them. We also have a moment with Sam and Isaiah Bradley. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, well, they have a conversation at his house, but then they go to the museum and we see a statue of Isaiah and a plaque showing his story, and it's like, Sam is like, now the world will never forget. They will know your story. And it's like, I mean, you can tell, and just the way the guy looks, and just you see that joy and just that awe in his face, that he's like, after years and years, I finally get. I wouldn't say it would be enough to take away everything that happened to him, but obviously it's something that he can say, yes, I did all of this, and now the world knows. That's at least something he can acknowledge now. Whereas before, it was like he did a lot of great things, and he was repaid by being locked up in a cell. So at least now he can have his time. And then what else? Yeah, basically, yeah, so Sam is now Captain America, and they even end it with Captain America and the Winter Soldier, not Falcon and Winter Soldier. We do get a few moments. We get Sharon Carter getting her pardon, and she leaves and makes a call saying we all of a sudden now have a lot of secrets of the U.S. government, weapons, and it's like, glad to see that. And then we also even have a moment with Walker, who gets his U.S. agent uniform, and just, I don't know, the way they force that line is like, yeah, you don't look like a Captain America, you look more like a U.S. agent. And I'm like, really? But I am intrigued to see where Walker goes with it, because again, he made the right decision at the end of the day. Oh, completely forgot. While Falcon and Karli and Sharon had their moments, Bucky and John apprehended the rest of the group by actually using the app they had. It's like, they were like, the Flagsmashers are looking at their phone like, rendezvous here, and they get to the spot. Bucky and freaking John are there with police force, and you're just like, hey guys, how you doing? This is a nice app. And John and Bucky have a moment. I mean, it was more like, you know, like John quoted Abraham Lincoln, I think, yeah. And then Bucky is like, really? And John's like, good man, good quote. And Bucky's like, yeah, but not from you. So yeah. John gets his uniform and he becomes U.S. agent, and I don't know. So I guess the best way I can look at him and like Sam and Bucky, I would say a semi. Okay, I'm gonna go Overwatch terms here. Like, you know, you have Overwatch's main strike teams and stuff like that, and then you have Blackwatch. I can see him kind of being in the Blackwatch version of whatever the government is going to use. I don't know, Thunderbolts, a strike team, a force, whatever is at the raft. I don't know. There's literally, I mean, you can technically make any team out of this. But I mean, considering that Walker at the end of this episode did do the right thing and didn't go after Karli and save people, and he didn't even fight Sam for the shield. He let him take the shield. He let him become Captain America. He's like, again, because he was there with that speech, and he's listening. He's like, yeah, that's Captain America. It's like, I could never say that. So he basically got it. He realizes he can't be Captain America, but he can still do good for his country, and thus he's gonna do good, hopefully, as U.S. agent. So, all right, that was a lot of talk. So overall, the series, I really enjoyed the series. I mean, having it be 6 episodes really packed in a lot. There was a lot of great story, a really great character arcs for these people. Because again, you think of each of these characters at the beginning of this series. Sam giving the shield to the people, giving the shield to the government, not wanting to be Captain America, just wanting to be his own thing, wanting to help people in his own way. Bucky wanting in his mind trying to make amends for everything he did. Even John Walker, he wants to, he sees himself as Captain America, and he knows that his mind, he thinks he's Captain America, so that means everyone should respect him and all that. We see those three go through their arcs, and we see them become better people because of it. Now Sam has taken responsibility of Captain America, and it suits him. I mean, you look at him and you can look at him and actually say, yeah, that person, after everything I've seen, deserves to be Captain America. He earned it. And so Bucky, his arc was more of just being able to make amends of his past and try to become his own person. And he is. I mean, he's a loving uncle. Like there was a scene with him with Sam and the family at the docks and he's just got his robotic arm out and all the kids are hanging on. It was so funny. And like I said, Walker went from being a man who just took the Captain America mantle technically for granted, I guess, and he became his own hero in a way and is gonna try and do good. I wouldn't even argue Zemo went for an arc. He kind of went through an arc, in a way. I'm glad he came back in this episode, even if he didn't really say any lines. I mean, and he also kind of got the last laugh, I guess, with the Flagsmashers, because if those were the last members of the Flagsmashers in that truck, he's like, yeah, I killed them. It's like, dang. All right. So yeah, that was Falcon and Winter Soldier. Really enjoyed that series. I actually think I enjoyed it more than WandaVision. Yeah. There was just a lot of awesome moments. There was a lot of emotional moments. There was a lot of good comment. There was a lot of commentary about current events and society and stuff. So yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And in terms of my other, I'm doing a Mortal Kombat review. I don't really know when. Again, a lot of things going on right now for me with college and stuff. But I'll see when I can get that out. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next one.